What's up, guys? We're back. CIC car interviews. We're in Liam's car today. We're going to be answering some more questions about our lives before we get into interviewing new guests.
Yeah.
That way you guys can get the platform of this and get to know us a little bit better. Tell us about your car.
This is a 2002 Acura RSX. It is the base model from one of the first shipments that came across from Japan over into this country. I've had it for about 4 years now. I bought it completely stock with like 86,000 miles on it. I'm up to 178,000 now, so it's definitely seen almost this side of 100,000 miles. But this is pretty much where I learned everything when it comes to cars, and I still find a way to learn on this thing and find new ways to not cheat the system but do different things, and also not break the bank at the same time, and a lot of smaller cool things that
Be unique about it.
what's that? Yeah. Like keep it unique and everything, and there's a lot that I would say I've done to it, but in the grand scheme of things, not a ton. But I mean, over the course of 4 years, I've definitely put some money into it, and definitely put a lot of time into it. And although it's not the greatest looking vehicle, especially at the moment,
Yeah, we do have props for this episode.
oh, don't.
So,
Can't blur that out.
tell us about what happened to your car.
So, pretty much going 4 years straight, actually over 4 years, just over 4 years straight with no physical outside damage, really. And I was coming home the other day, and I was just taking back roads home. It was like 3:30 in the morning, and caught a deer in the front left part of the car, blew the headlight out, crunched the fender, dented the hood pretty bad, and just some minor front end damage, really. You know, none of the mechanical aspects of the vehicle were broken. Radiator and everything was completely fine. The core support was fine. But it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because there was a lot of parts that needed to be replaced on this thing, and I had zero motivation to do it up until right now, just because I need to now since I don't have a driver's side headlight. But I think the deer was okay. I don't know. He got up and ran away, but you know, these things happen, and I was able to outsource everything that I already have on the car, brand new, for a pretty cheap price. I did not spend that much money. And the only thing I need now is a fender. The headlights and the hood hinges. The headlights came in today, the fog lights came in today, and the hood hinges should be here by Thursday. Today's Tuesday, just for reference of that. And then it's just going to be a matter of either outsourcing a fender and getting it repainted to the color that this car is, or just buying one brand new and having it painted from there. But
So,
we'll see.
with hitting that deer, you came out best case scenario.
Honestly, yeah, it did. Like, that could have been a really, really bad scenario, just because I was going relatively quick. And I caught it pretty much at the perfect time. I was on the brake heavy, so I didn't hit it as fast as I was going at the time. I was going much slower. But still not exactly what I wanted to do, or what I wanted to spend money on, but being that I'm alright and the functionality of the car is okay, it's pretty much best case scenario. Yeah.
So, with having this car 4 years, like, you don't have any regrets or anything? You know, you've been through a lot with this car.
Yeah. And I really can't say that I have any regret with A, buying this vehicle, and B, what I've done to it. Especially looking back on it now, like at the time of certain things, it was like, man, I wish I never did this, or, you know, I wish back on it, there's pretty much no regret whatsoever. And it's made for some pretty good stories. I've met a lot of people through owning this thing, and it's been a good 4 years up until like right now, just because I had that deer. But even then, like I can't complain. I mean, it still gets me to and from work. It still starts every morning. On the topic of regret, though, I think the only thing that I can say is that I've just made dumb decisions that I've learned from, that are definitely going to benefit, maybe not with this car in the future, but another car or somebody else's car. Can you put that back there? Nice. And that's just how it is. It's just a learning thing. And, you know, I've learned a lot and developed a lot more knowledge, not only with this car, but a lot of other cars. And, you know, I know what will work, what won't work, how well it'll work, and how long it'll work, or will not work for that matter. And that's just through experience. And I think learning it the hard way was a lot better than, you know, having somebody, I shouldn't say hold my hand, but, you know, having somebody, being that this was the first car that I started working on, and I didn't really know anybody else that had done much more than I did at the time. It was a good platform for learning and to broaden my horizon with things that I know, especially about this car.
So, going off that, I've known you for a while, so,
Yeah.
and I've seen the struggles that this car has been through.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, losing a little bit of interest in the car scene in general. Because, you know, having a car for that long and getting up in mileage or whatever, I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, but, so through that, if you didn't have this car, what, in your mind, what would you have gotten instead?
So when I actually first bought this thing, I think I only went like 6 months in owning it, which was like right toward the end of my senior year in high school. I pretty much made a decision, or like kind of told myself that once this car hit 100,000 miles, which would have been like 3/4 of a year, I was gonna sell it and get a G35. And I don't know what possessed me to want one so bad, but it was like I was pretty much dead set on it. This car's actually been for sale, I think 3 or 4 times now, and it was only up for like 3 months at a time, because I was just, there was a few times where I was like, this is causing me way too much trouble, way too much money, way too much time. I'm gonna get rid of it. And I had a couple like serious people that wanted to buy it, but it was like the timing almost wasn't right because I needed a car. I was in school at the time, I know, during one of those, and then I was working 2 jobs a couple of the other times, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to get rid of this, but the only problem is I need to find another car that day, because I can't go a day without a car. There was just no way to work around it, you know, with my dad working full-time and everything, and, you know, myself working 2 jobs and needing to be at both almost every day. There was almost no way around it. I'm sure if I really wanted to, I could have found a way to work around that and figure something out with it, but it was just a little bit too much stress for me to try and think about, like, okay, what am I going to do if I don't have a car for, you know, 3-4 weeks? But yeah, the G35 was a big one. That was something that I had quickly developed interest in, just because I wanted a 350, or I had an interest in the 350. And then I was like, but it's, at the time, that was when they started becoming really, really cheap, because 240s were way too hard to outsource. So I was like, I'll go with something a little bit different. I'll get a G35. It's the exact same platform. It just has 2 more seats, and it's a little bit heavier. But that all kind of just snowballed into me figuring out how to keep this car, and me buying parts for it, even though I told myself I was going to sell it, and then finding another interest in this car. And then I kind of just forgot about it. You know, I hit 100,000 miles, and I was like, cool, this thing still runs really well. And, you know, here I am 78,000 later. flex fuel model, I'm pretty sure. No, I'm sorry, it's an EcoBoost model. I think they might be flex fuel as well, though. But they have a twin turbo model, and it's the same motor out of the Ford Taurus SHO. So it's like the downpipes and everything. They sold parts for it, and it was like the aftermarket community for the Ford Flexes it's not shallow, but it's also not super deep just because nobody does anything to them.
Yeah,
So it sparked this thing for me to be like, this is one of the most unique platforms. They didn't sell it in a manual, which was like one small turn off about that car, but they had a twin turbo model that was all-wheel drive. I could fit everybody and their parents in it, and it would have been nice for work because it would have been comfortable, and I would have probably just bought it stock because it's very difficult to find one that's modified.
Plus, you could have a crazy sub setup in there.
Yeah, and that was a big thing too. It's like I'd gotten into the music industry like right before I developed an interest for those, and then I thought about it, and I was like, well, they already come with pretty nice stereos, but I could also put all my money into the stereo and just leave it stock and have that thing sound really good and enjoy myself while I'm driving to work, or wherever I may need to go. And that was a big portion of I'd say the past like year and a half. I just nonstop was thinking about those, trying to find ones that were modified, and it's actually difficult to find them. But I think
I sent you. So shout out to Typical Steven. He's a guy I think living out in LA. He does a lot of crazy builds with a lot of German cars. He put on a story about I think it's a bagged Ford Flex with like 20-inch wheels on it. It looks so dope.
It was so gorgeous, and like it.
That's pretty much like what I pictured when you brought that idea up to me.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were like, why would you want to drive that car? I was like, I don't know, it's just funny, and I can fit everybody in it. It would fit me. Yeah, I think like if I wasn't driving this, I think the complete opposite would be something else that people could be like, yeah, I see you driving that. But
I mean, it's funny because I think about like if we went down to H2O, like and you did stuff to that, like
it would get attention. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
it
would turn heads like quick as fuck.
Yeah, and it's a big vehicle. It's huge. Like they don't look big, but I know that those things are boats, and I don't know the wheelbase of it, but man, those things are huge. Yeah, exactly. So it was something that had caught my interest. I think I had only ever seen one that had like 2 or 3 things done to it. I don't even think it had an exhaust. It was just like coilovers and bigger wheels somehow, because I know that the EcoBoost models come with 20s or 21s, and they sold a version called the Funkmaster Flex, and it was like this. I don't know how many of them they sold, but I'm pretty sure it's a rare car because they had 21s on it, and they had this red and black paint scheme that only the Funkmaster Flex had from the factory. So they definitely were doing something weird over at Ford when they came out with that car, but it caught my attention pretty quick once I started realizing it was a cool platform and it was very different.
I was on Fitment Industries the other day, and they made a video about a Ford Flex, and I was like, this could be you, Liam.
Yeah, but
this could be you.
It would be pricey. I would definitely be spending some money on that thing, just because I know, with a twin turbo setup, you need 2 downpipes, and that was not. Other than that, I don't think there was anything that I ever like looked hard for. After I had bought this, of course, I mean, there was a couple things that I looked at, but I was pretty dead set on an RSX for a while, and had I been given the opportunity to find one pretty cheap, I definitely would have gotten a Type S. But they were still kind of high up in the market. Not high up, but they were higher than what they are now in the market 4 years ago. Because, I mean, they stopped making this car in 2006. And I keep seeing this guy all the time. Yeah, they stopped making this car in 2006. And the price sat up a little bit, and then it quickly, I feel, has dropped in the past couple of years. And that may be wrong, but at least from what I've been able to tell and notice, I think it's dropped a little bit.
But would you have rather taken a different route with this, like any other way than what you've done, or are you just? We kind of like harped on this earlier.
that it is a 2002. A big thing that caught my attention was, and something that I wanted to do for a long time, was the 0506 front end swap. But I mean, it's a good bit of money. I mean, you have to completely replace everything to the fenders, I'm pretty sure. And then I probably would have done a different suspension setup. I wouldn't have done. I probably would have kept it how it sits right now, like ride height wise, from the start, if I knew that I could make it look as good as it does now. Because back then in my mind it was like, just put it lower, and if you can't go lower, figure out a way to go lower.
Yeah, because you've been lower and you've had more camber to it, so it's like...
And, I mean, I had stretch tires on at one point, and it was cool, but I could have done the fitment better the first time. Could have gone with a different set of wheels, although these are arguably my favorite. What else? I would have stuck with one exhaust setup, because I think this is my fourth, technically. Yeah, this is technically my fourth. And the straight pipe was fun, but never again. It was way too loud.
So loud.
But, what else? I don't even know. I would have, like, if I would have had a daily to drive around, because this is a car that I drive every day, I would have kept the intake on it. Probably would have done a different intake manifold. The headers are fantastic. I love them. Thank you, Skunk, too. What else? I don't even know what else there is to do.
18-inch wheels?
Yeah, I would have done 18s. Didn't even think about that. I would have probably kept the same wheels, but in 18s. Also, I don't know why I said that. There is a lot more that I can do. Something that I still would like to do, if I can financially justify it, is change the steering wheel from the stock RSX steering wheel to the 2012 Civic SI steering wheel.
That would be cool.
I've only seen documented like one person do it, and it's gorgeous. It looks so good, and plus the car has front and rear Honda badges, so they would all kind of match together. Wrap it. Forgot about that. I probably would wrap this.
That could solve your fender issue.
No, the fender's cracked.
Well, no, I'm saying like you wouldn't have to paint it.
Yeah. So I don't know. There is definitely a lot more that I have in my mind. I had a parts list forever ago that I haven't touched in like 2 years. What else? I don't even know. I'm trying to think back to what I had on the parts list, but there was so much stuff that I had in mind. I thought that it would have been interesting to boost the base model and do like a K24 head on the K20 A3 block, and then do like a really small turbo or a supercharger. And I talked to a good friend of ours who will eventually be on the show about doing not a compound setup, but a sequential twin setup. But they would have to be all custom. There's nobody that makes a sequential twin for this car at the moment, as far as I know. But there was a time where there was a lot written out for this thing, and I had a lot of ideas and a lot of time on my hands, and to try and figure things out. But it all kind of boiled down to where it is now, and I don't know. A lot of people ask me like, what's next, and it's like, I don't know. At the moment, it's fix the car because I don't have a headlight or a good fender. But after that, I'm not sure. I mean, if I can,
that's always the question.
It's going to be a game time decision, I think, just because I genuinely don't know. I have no idea. If somebody threw me an offer this afternoon, I probably wouldn't have this car tomorrow if the offer was right.
Hit them up on Instagram.
Yeah, right. But there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot that has gone into it, and I don't know what that is. But needless to say, I think it's definitely been a good 4 years. And, besides all the worked on cars that have been a breeze. You know, I've had zero problems start to finish. And things have been smooth, no problem. Everything works out perfect. Everything fits perfect. And then I've had struggles with this and other cars where things don't fit at all, not even remotely. But that's how it is, and you learn from these things.
Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Next episode, we will be back in my car.
Yes, I'll be asking the questions.
So get a little bit more information about me while we're still trying to put a schedule together for all of our guests.
Yeah.
So look forward to the next episode.